let's continue with certain rituals that they have. First and foremost, let's begin with their views on idolatry. So, last time as we saw, okay, so these views, especially with regards to the rejection of idolatry, is very much based on the teachings of the Guru, okay, particularly Guru Nanak. Now we see that we already know that Sikhism is a monotheistic religion, so follows monotheism, and therefore it in a way rejects idol worship. So you have rejection of idol worship, and at the same time you also have there is no representation of God in any physical form. Now, though we say that it rejects idolatry, at the same time there are certain practices which it has developed, certain rituals which are there, which surround the Guru Granth Sahib, which we will take a look in a short while. So first and foremost, we see that they criticize idol worship and basically call it as futile or misleading. Why? Because they say that God is formless and hence he cannot be confined in physical representation. So if something does not have a form, we see that saying that it is a square, saying that it is a circle, saying that it is a rectangle is not just. Why? Because it doesn't have any particular form. The moment we put something in a particular form, we see that we are restricting certain things. They don't do that. So, and secondly also, according to the teachings, God is in a way beyond human comprehension. So therefore, they believe that any worship, okay, should be directed only to the formless God. That no material things, no images should be worshipped, but all the worship should be directed towards the formless God. And we see that this rejection of idolatry is in a way what separates it from other religious traditions, especially Hinduism, okay, where basically idols are kind of focal point of the whole worship. So basically for the Sikhs, what is important is inner devotion plus meditation. Now we see that although it in a way rejects idolatry, the Guru Granth Sahib becomes an object of reverence and respect. Therefore, the Guru Granth or the Adi Granth becomes a living Guru. And as we all know, it takes the role of the eternal Guru. Now, this is not seen as a idol, but it is a personified embodiment of the divine teachings of the Guru. That means, in other words, all the teachings of the Guru are in a way made alive or kept preserved by the Adi Granth or the Guru Granth Sahib. So, in other words, the teachings of the Gurus do not die with them, but they are kept eternal through the Guru Granth Sahib. Now, we see that it is treated with a lot of respect. There is a lot of kind of ceremonies that are done with regards to the Guru Granth Sahib. So, let's take a look at some of them. So, first and foremost, we see that you have the ritual care. So, we see that the scripture is treated as a living entity. Okay, because they say it is the eternal Guru, therefore they treat it as a living entity. And in this way, it is in a way kind of awakened in the morning from its special resting place. So now they have two ceremonies which they do at the start of the day and at the end of the day. Okay, we'll come to that later. But we see that early in the morning, it is in a way awakened and then placed on a throne. Okay, so there is a kind of a high ground where the Guru Granth Sahib is placed, and at the same time we see that in the evening it is also put to bed. There is a kind of a closing ceremony also that is done every day, a closing ritual and an opening ritual. Now this is basically in a way a form of reverence to the Guru Granth Sahib. Then you also have offerings. So devotees will bow down as a mark of respect, and they also give offerings. Now these offerings are not to be seen as worship, but these offerings are again a sign of reverence. Reverence or respect for the divine teachings, respecting it for guiding it. So for example, when you in a way give a gift to your friend, or you give a gift for somebody who is in high authority, we see that it is a kind of a way of thanking him, or a kind of saying thank you for being there for guiding. For example, when we had the Teachers' Day celebration, whatever gift memento, it was a kind of a thank you or a kind of a memento that was given, not a worship that was done. Okay, so in this way we see that the offerings are not to be seen as worship but reverence, a sign of gratitude for guiding, a gratitude for teaching. So finally you also have festival processions. Now on certain days we see that, like for example you have the Gur Purab. This Gur Purab is a celebration of Guru's lives. So on these days we see that the Guru Granth Sahib is taken out in a elaborate procession throughout the streets. Okay, so just as we have the procession of Mother Mary statue during the feast days, novenas, when we have the procession with the statues of the saints, etc. Similarly here, a elaborate procession throughout the streets is taken with the Guru Granth Sahib. And this basically again in a way shows how the Guru Granth Sahib is a central aspect of the Sikh faith. Next, you have certain rituals around the Guru Granth Sahib. So first and foremost, you have the Akhand Path, that is non-stop recitation. So this usually takes 48 hours to complete. And in a way it is performed by relay of readers. All of you have seen a relay race, right? So after reaching a particular point, baton is passed to the next and then the next carries forward. I think many times when we have this adoration, especially Monday, Thursday night, you have the throughout the night midnight adoration. So we have different people coming at different times and carrying it forward. Same thing over here. So the whole kind of recitation lasts for 48 hours and you have batches of people coming in and then continuing. So the chain is kept. Now we see that this is performed or is very popular during weddings, births and funerals, or during important Sikh festivals. So what is the whole purpose of this? Okay, the whole purpose of reciting this is in a way to gain spiritual wisdom and also to gain knowledge about the divine word which is contained in the Guru Granth Sahib. Now what happens in this whole kind of 48 hours of recitation? So it is said that the participants are blessed and in a way it also creates an atmosphere of spiritual upliftment and bliss. So for example, when we heard a few of those hymns, right, being recited, okay, the ikonkar, you have with it a kind of a, first and foremost, you know about God, because as we have seen, each of the words have a deep spiritual meaning. And secondly, in a way, it also creates a kind of a spiritual mood, which in a way helps you to experience the divine presence. So also we see that by this you also reflect on the text. As you are reciting the text, you also reflect on the text. You can compare it also to the psalms that we have. Okay, so when we recite the psalms or when we sing the psalms, it is not just you are singing it for the sake of singing, but also when you sing, there are certain things which in a way touch your heart. In the same way with this also, and that when you're touched by something, that helps you to experience the divine. Now there are two main rituals that are performed. One is the Parkash and the Sukh Asan. So this Parkash refers to the morning ceremonial opening of the Guru Granth Sahib, and also placing it on a raised platform in the Darbar Sahib, which is a main hall in the Gurudwara. So when we visit the Gurudwara, you will be able to see some of these aspects also. So you have a main hall, and over there is a kind of a raised platform where every day in the morning you have a ceremonial opening. So here you can see how it is being opened. So it is covered with a kind of a cloth, then in a way opened, and then it is placed on the platform. The closest analogy that we can have is with regards to a benediction or adoration, right? So you have the Blessed Sacrament enclosed and kept, then you open it, put it and keep it for reverence. So something similar, a close analogy you can draw to that. So after this we see that the scripture is read aloud, and with this it begins the day's prayer. So then they have certain prayers which are said after this ceremony. Next is the Sukh Asan, which is the closing ceremony, or in a way putting to rest. So we see that the scripture is closed with a fine cloth, and it is taken to the resting place. So therefore, this in a way is how they kind of respect the Guru Granth as a living Guru. Okay, because it is in a way a embodiment of the Guru. And then you also have the whole concept of the langar, as we have already seen, that is the free community kitchen which is offered at the Gurudwara. And what does it represent? Equality, service and breaking of social barriers, as all come together, all eat together. Now we see that the Guru Granth Sahib has this deep reverence and the veneration is different from idol worship. So now the Sikhs, now why do I say this? It is not idol worship. What are the reasons? First and foremost is because they do not worship the physical form of the Guru Granth Sahib. But they worship the divine wisdom and guidance that it contains. So there is no worship done to the physical text as such, but it is a kind of a personified worship to the divine wisdom and guidance. And these rituals which are there are in a way meant to show respect plus reverence. Okay, because these are the teachings that guide the society or the community. Now, when we look at idolatry or idol worship, we see that idol worship will definitely look at a kind of a worship of the physical representation. And therefore we see that this whole rejection of idolatry again goes back to their belief that God is formless. Therefore any physical image or any physical depiction cannot capture the true essence of the divine. So let's end over here. Tomorrow we go more into the social connections. We look at some of the social rituals that are being performed and how these in a way help the Sikhs to come to a closer contact with God. So basically what we'll look at is the ceremonies of birth, marriage, death, and also we'll see how what are the ways in which the other rituals are performed. Okay, so thank you.